From the Local 4 and Fox 18 News studios, this is a severe weather update.
Hi everybody, I'm Chief Meteorologist Andy McRae. This is just starting what is going to be a really rough afternoon of severe weather here around the Quad Cities. I'm afraid this this weather update might end up lasting a couple of hours because we have a really bad line of storms coming through Iowa City right now, heading for the Quad Cities. And the storms are moving 70 miles per hour, so they're going to get on us quickly, and they're going to come with quite a punch. Winds are around 80 to 90 miles per hour in parts of this line of thunderstorms. That's why the warning already includes the metro Quad Cities. Let me throw the specifics up for the warning for the Quad Cities area. This was just issued just a few minutes ago. It includes portions of Cedar, Clinton, Jones, Scott, Rock Island County. It affects almost 1 million people. It's basically all of the Quad Cities. And because the storm is moving so quickly, well, it covers several different counties. This first severe thunderstorm warning, this morning here goes until 1:30. Right now it's a little before 1, so that line of storms will reach the Quad Cities here in less than an hour now. So if you look off to the west, notice how dark it is right now, and it gets even darker as the storms do approach. Let me track the distance here from the leading edge of the storm, just now getting into Cedar County and Muscatine County. And this is again racing off to the east. It is going very quickly at about 70 miles per hour. And it has winds again, like I mentioned, 80 to 90 miles per hour. So you can see this will be to Muscatine here within the next 15 minutes, Tipton in another 5 minutes or so. And it's into Wapello, Walcott, and Eldridge, and then the Quad Cities just after that. So that storm, again, moving at about 70 miles per hour. Let me clear this off here. And we're going to use our distance tracker because we'll be able to do the math fairly quickly here from the leading edge to the Quad Cities. You can see it's about 38 miles away or so. So it's only going to be about a half an hour, pretty close to that. So a little bit after 1 o'clock in the Quad Cities. I'm afraid we're going to have really bad winds. Maybe the worst winds of the season. And as of right now, Des Moines has more than 60,000 people without power from this batch of storms right here. Eventually, I believe in the Quad Cities, we could end up with tens of thousands of people without power as these nasty thunderstorms could be forming. It could be a bit of a derecho out there. You hear that word every so often. Some of the worst weather we've had in the Quad Cities over the last 10, 12 years was from a derecho, and it had winds similar to what these are producing. Remember, it was about 10 years ago, and parts of the Illinois Quad Cities had no power for 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Hopefully it doesn't end up like that. But again, I'm concerned because this storm is very bad. It's moving very quickly, and it will get on us in a hurry. So let's zoom in just a little bit, and we'll show you what some of the strong winds are. Again, I'm afraid those winds could be 80 and 90 miles per hour. Marshalltown, Iowa, they actually registered a wind gust of 99 miles per hour. So this is an extremely dangerous situation here. We'll go ahead and clear off the warnings, and then we'll be able to plot some of the wind speeds here. You can see a lot of thunder and lightning around Cedar Rapids. There could be some small hail. By far, though, 95% of the problems are probably going to come from the wind with this storm. Very strong winds around Iowa City right now, just getting into Cedar County and Muscatine County. And some of these winds are going to be very close to the Quad Cities. Again, the warning goes until 1:30. And as we tap into some of the extra data that we're able to see with our Pinpoint Doppler radar here, these winds, they could be over 100 miles per hour. Now, that's up above the ground a little bit, but as that momentum transitions and gets carried down to the ground from some of the rain that's coming down, we could easily see wind that is 80, 90, 95 miles per hour at ground level. That can cause significant damage. So today in the Quad Cities, as these storms approach, I want you to treat them basically like they're a tornado. When we have some weak tornadoes around here, those winds might be 70, 75, 80 miles per hour. There could be a lot of wind that is stronger than that. A tornado like that, it might only be 50 or 100 yards wide. This line of storms is miles and miles and miles long, and where we have the worst of the wind, that could be several miles in distance. So again, this is going to affect a lot more people. And it's going to be even worse than a weak tornado, unfortunately. So that's why I said we're probably going to have to be on here for a couple of hours this afternoon as these storms continue moving toward the Quad Cities. Right now, the leading edge of the strong winds now getting into Cedar County and into Muscatine County. So those are the storm winds. Now, I'm going to give you some severe weather safety tips here. We're going to pull up some tips for storms that have very strong winds. And remember what I said, treat this like it's a tornado warning. It really could be that bad here this afternoon. So everybody has to get into a sturdy building or a storm shelter. If there is no shelter, well, you have to avoid trees and power lines, and really not being in a sturdy building is really not an option, as this is a widespread line of very strong damaging winds. So remember, and don't drive right now west on Interstate 80, no matter how bad you have to be somewhere. If you're going to Des Moines, if you're going to Iowa City, just don't do it. Do yourself a favor. Do anybody else who might happen to be out on the road because they don't know what they're getting into, do them a favor, and just stay off the roads heading west of the Quad Cities right now. So we're under the severe thunderstorm warning until 1:30. Something else I wanted to mention, you're going to hear some sirens in the Quad Cities this afternoon as this line of severe thunderstorms approaches. Now, remember what I said about the winds. They could be 80 and 90 miles per hour. In the Quad Cities metro area, we go back just a little bit, we're going to bring that back up here. In the Quad Cities, the sirens, most of the sirens, they go off if there's a tornado or a tornado warning, but they also go off for severe thunderstorm warnings if the winds are 70 miles per hour or stronger, and if the hail is golf ball sized or larger. We had some of that earlier in the season back in April, especially in Davenport and Bettendorf. This is not going to be a problem today. The chance of any tornadoes is relatively low, but this is going to happen. That's why you're going to hear the sirens, again, because we will have winds that are easily 70 miles per hour and potentially even stronger than that. So again, hopefully you can tell we're on air. We're going to stay on air. We also have this going on Facebook Live, also at ourquadcities.com. If you happen to lose power today, like I think thousands of people will here in the Quad Cities, now would be the time. Plug the phone in, get the phone charged up, and then as the storms approach and if things start getting bad, then you probably want to unplug the phone just to be safe so you don't get any damage to the phone if you do end up with some kind of a power surge. But now charge up the phones. You know how hot and humid it is. If you're watching from home right now, you might want to turn the temperature down in the house down a little bit. Get the AC all juiced up and running right now. Maybe you take it down 5 degrees colder than it normally would be. But some of us are going to end up without power, and that means without AC here a little bit later tonight. So we'll probably remind people a couple times of that. So this is why we're hearing sirens in parts of the Quad Cities right now. All right, let's get back to the Pinpoint Doppler radar now, and we'll track the storm. And every time we go back to the storm, you are going to notice that we get some kind of an update on exactly where the storm is and where the worst of the weather is. A couple of minutes ago when we were checking this out, it was just getting into Cedar County, just getting into Muscatine County. Now it's a few miles into the county, and that makes it a few miles closer to the metro Quad Cities. So again, in the Quad Cities, it's going to be around 1:15, 1:20, 1:30 when our weather takes a turn for the worse, and it is going to be a sharp turn for the worse. So updated arrival times now in the Quad Cities, it could be 1:18. Andalusia on the west side of the Quad Cities a little before that. Walcott around the truck stop just after 1. Same deal in Durant and Muscatine here within the next 10 minutes or so. Let's go ahead and pull up our Quad Cities cam Rock Island. We can do that either from the weather computer or we can do that from the control room too. Here's the camera, and this is it. This is the storm right here. Things are going to get a lot darker. We'll watch it on this view here as it comes in. Eventually we might have some of those shelf cloud pictures that we get. If you want to take a picture, you have to do it really early today. Remember, the storm's going to be moving 70 miles per hour. So when you just do the quick math on it, that's more than a mile a minute. So you might think you're safe, and then all of a sudden the storm's on you basically like that. So we don't want anyone to take any chances. If you're able to safely get us a picture, maybe you'll end up with some damage in the neighborhood after the storm has passed, and after you cannot hear any thunder anymore, that would be when it might be safe to go out, take a picture, share it with us. You can send it in with the Our Quad Cities app on your phone. You can also send it into our Facebook page. There are a lot of ways you can get it to us. We don't want to see any pictures that are taken when somebody's not doing it safely. So just remember that. That is our number one priority and our number one concern here is your safety. And that's why we're going to be on for a little while today through some of our regular afternoon programming. So that's what it looks like right now. And we can get things back over now to the Pinpoint Doppler radar. And you'll see, again, severe thunderstorms barreling toward the Quad Cities. I'm going to check out some of the latest reports from the National Weather Service. We're still looking at winds for this thunderstorm that could be heading for the Quad Cities. Now we are looking at the potential for 90-mile-an-hour winds. So this is going to be a bad afternoon in the Quad Cities. I cannot stress it enough. If you're just joining us, we've checked with Mid-America, and they say Des Moines has 60,000 plus without power. In the Quad Cities, we will likely end up with tens of thousands of people who hopefully it's only for a little while, it could be for an extended period, who end up with no electricity, no power, no air conditioning at home on this hot and muggy summer day. So remember that. You're going to see the skies get very dark. You're going to hear the thunder. You're going to see the lightning, and we might get blasted by some of the strong winds. But we will be here throughout the afternoon for you as we do our best to keep everybody safe with this line of thunderstorms. Now, I'm not the only one here following this. We will have team coverage. We'll have video from our local 4 storm chaser, Colby Martin. We'll be able to bring you that. He is a trained professional. He knows how to stay safe and still get video and picture updates so we can show you, not just with the radar data, but we can show you exactly what it looks like. We trust him to stay safe. He knows that's his number one goal. It's not to get us the most incredible video that anybody can find anywhere. It's to stay safe and provide whatever video he can when he's doing that. So again, remember that. Now, again, so Colby's out there. Garrett Hyde, our weekend meteorologist, Garrett's here too. He's been following this all morning, all now into the early afternoon. Garrett, when we started today, the severe weather risk looked like it would be relatively low, but boy, things changed with each and every update we got today.
Yeah, definitely. When I had our first show at 5 o'clock this morning, severe parameters looked insanely low. We only had about a 1 out of 5, so that's a marginal outlook, but as by about 7 o'clock, the Storm Prediction Center then updated that to an enhanced, and then by about, I believe it was 11 a.m., they updated that to a moderate risk, which is a level 4 out of 5 there. So yeah, as the day has progressed, those parameters definitely got worse and worse. The humidity has definitely been out there. So if you've been outside this afternoon, you've definitely felt the humidity. You mix that sunshine in there, as we talk about that very commonly. Humidity plus sunshine usually equals really severe weather, which is exactly what we're seeing today. Unfortunately, there's a lot of strong downward motion right now, which is what's causing these winds as it slams into the ground and moves outward rapidly, which is why we're seeing these winds. And that has, like Zandy mentioned, continued to worsen as we headed throughout the day so far today. And we can actually zoom in here about those leading edge of storms, look at some of those winds that are showing on radar for the time being. Let's see if we can pop that up here shortly. It's just over Iowa City there. We got a velocity right around 112 miles per hour. Keep in mind that this is at about 3,000 feet in the air, so it is a ways up. We usually get a little bit slower due to friction, so we'll probably likely be seeing 90 miles an hour on the ground there. But for the time being, though, yeah, we definitely do have those strong winds moving through our area.
And we have seen now multiple reports from central Iowa, just west of our viewing area, just west of our coverage area, where the winds have been either measured or estimated between 90 and up to 100 miles per hour. Shellsburg, that's in Lynn County, northwest of our coverage area. Multiple campers blown over, along with the shelter roof of the park blown off. Garrett, you mentioned something about an arena over in the Des Moines area that had significant damage.
Yeah, they lost the roof is on the ground currently.
Yeah, the roof is on the ground, never a good thing. So again, here's our Pinpoint Doppler radar. We do want to show you also, we'll try to show you as many different things as we can. So there is a watch for the entire area. Obviously the warning takes precedence, but we'll pull up the watch for you. Basically, the entire area, it's a severe thunderstorm watch, and it's not just a watch. A few times every year, the Storm Prediction Center, the meteorologists who put out products like this, they'll put down an extra tag on a couple of these things, and they'll say it's a particularly dangerous situation. We always call it a PDS, either tornado watch or in this case severe thunderstorm watch. This is a PDS watch, and that is specifically because the winds could be 100 miles per hour. So not only is the likelihood of strong winds there, the likelihood of extremely strong and damaging winds also high. So you don't get any product any more significant than that when it comes to a severe thunderstorm watch for our area. So again, this is until a little bit later this evening. I mentioned our Local 4 storm chaser Colby Martin heading up to the Quad Cities and into the storm. We can pull his video up for you here, and we'll give you again, this is what he's looking at heading off toward the storm now. So those skies are going to get darker. Our skies are going to get a lot darker. We'll have several different vantage points for you of the storms that we have going on. So again, we'll continue to check in with Colby. He'll be able to relay info on the phone. We'll bring him in live on the phone over his video, as that will be needed here in just a little while, as these storms are just west of the Quad Cities. You can see the skies getting darker there. The skies on our Quad Cities cam from Rock Island also darkening up. From the control room, let's go ahead and put that up. So here we go. We're looking off to the west there, and this is going to be one of those storms. It almost looks like some kind of a mothership or some kind of a spaceship overtaking the area. One of those kind of storms on the way toward the Quad Cities. So, okay, obviously we're very concerned about everybody in the Quad Cities. I just double-checked the numbers from Des Moines. It is now 80,000 people. More than 80,000 people in Des Moines, no power, and I'm afraid something like that could end up happening right here at our home in the Quad Cities. So we don't want that to be the case, but obviously with Mother Nature, we don't get much of a say in the matter. Okay, let's bring the radar data back up full screen now, and Garrett's going to help us zoom in now. Look at that, we're all the way more than halfway into Cedar County. Garrett, well, we've got the warning. Let's clear the warnings off so we can plot some of the wind data. You can see some thunder and lightning south of Iowa City, a bunch of it around Cedar Rapids. Lightning could cause some problems, there's no doubt about that, but the wind will be responsible for just about all of the problems we get today. Hail also not a huge concern. Okay, so we'll get rid of the warning data. That'll go until 1:30. And here we go. Winds up above the ground like Garrett mentioned. This might be a half mile up, something like that, as the storms get closer to the Quad Cities. But look at that. We're looking at winds half a mile above the ground, over 100 miles per hour. And this is something that the Pinpoint Doppler radar is actually able to measure. And it's not just an estimate from somebody on the ground who's not exactly sure how to measure wind speeds or anything like that. This is a verifiable product, you could say, from the Pinpoint Doppler radar. So extreme wind coming up. All right, let's clear some of this off now. And again, some of these winds just getting into Cedar County. Let's zoom in just a little bit and see how close those winds are to the Tipton area in particular. That would be the most heavily populated area in Cedar County, and we're looking at that strong pocket of winds just west of Tipton. Garrett, let's go ahead and plot some of those. In Tipton right now, winds could be 60 miles per hour, and they could ramp up to near 100 miles per hour. The last product from the National Weather Service is suggesting 90-mile-an-hour winds on the ground are not only possible, but likely. So that's what we are looking at. Again, extreme wind damage likely around the Quad Cities. So we'll continue to track all of this. And again, you might be hearing some of the sirens out there. And we're going to bring video in from Colby Martin. We'll bring that in once again. He's now north side of the Quad Cities. He's going to be heading west, getting kind of set up to kind of intercept these extremely strong winds. So that's the video that you see there. Garrett's on the controls of the Pinpoint Doppler radar. Garrett, now let's track the distance from the Quad Cities. We've been estimating it'd be between 1 and 130. Right now we're estimating in the Quad Cities probably still just about between 115 and 125. So that's how long we have. Get the cell phones charged up. Get your phone as much juice as you can get it right now. Then as the storms approach, you probably want to unplug the phone just to make sure in case there's some kind of a power surge at home that you don't mess up the phone. We don't want that. But we do want you to be able to have the phone ready to go as these storms right now, the leading edge 20 miles west of the Quad Cities. From the looks of some of the radar data, I believe maybe Scott County might end up seeing some of the worst of the winds rather than Rock Island County, but all of us are going to have extremely damaging winds by around 1:30 or so in the Quad Cities. So that's the latest there. We've got Colby's video. We'll continue scrolling through our Quad Cities Cam Rock Island. Colby's video, we'll bring him in on the phone here shortly. So we're looking only about 20 miles or so. And let's bring the Pinpoint Doppler radar data back up full screen so we can see a little more here. Hopefully we don't end up with any rotation. Now, I mentioned earlier, a tornado is not overly likely. If we get anything, it would just be a little spin up along the front edge of the line here. Hopefully that's not happening around Wilton right now. But whether there ends up being a tornado or not, the straight line winds, they could be worse than any weak tornado anyway. And Garrett, these straight line winds, extremely widespread, and they're going to cause a lot of problems.
You were mentioning something about rotation. I was looking at a different radar product on my other computer here. It looks like this inflow just north of our area, over by the Cedar Rapids region, looks like it could be experiencing some rotation. Fortunately, yes, that is outside of our viewing area, but again, if you've got family up there, make sure they're aware, and even down here, those winds definitely going to be rather strong here within the next couple of minutes or so.
It looks like Muscatine right now, 70 to 80 mile an hour winds. So let's focus in on the Muscatine area. Just getting into Muscatine, and we do have reports of several large tree branches down, along with several power flashes. That's what we've been afraid of. So we're looking at significant power outages likely heading into the area. We'll keep tabs on a lot of those numbers for you. Again, this is going to be one of those events. I'm afraid it might be one of those events that we compare other events to in the near future. But we are looking at extremely strong winds. So around the Muscatine area, Muscatine County, Cedar County right now getting the worst of it. Next will be Scott County and Rock Island County. So let's clear some of that data off here. Let's zoom back out just a little bit as the leading edge now getting really pretty close to the western side of Scott County, and it'll be getting into southwest Rock Island County here too. So Garrett will track this out for us. Still moving at about 70 miles per hour, still producing winds that could be 80, 90 miles per hour. Garrett, what do you have for arrival times for parts of the area?
All right, so it looks like some areas such as Walcott, you guys will probably be seeing this within the next 4 minutes or so, probably dealing with the winds a little bit sooner than that. Quad Cities here, the metro region, probably seeing it within the next 15 minutes or so here as well. For those of you a little closer to LeClaire there, about 130, Orion 137 as well. Definitely be moving really quickly, so we should be experiencing these within the next couple of minutes for most of us here. For those of you a little bit more northerly, you can go ahead and track this as well. Let's get to the northern part of that. There you go, over by DeWitt, Comanche. You guys probably seen that within a little closer to 140, but still definitely make sure to be prepared, stay safe, as these storms still are moving very, very rapidly off to the east. Very dangerous producing winds there as well. We can probably move down to the south a little bit. Not necessarily as strong so far. We can see some of the radar reports, and these are getting a little bit further away. Closer to Wapello there at about 28 miles an hour. Mount Pleasant, a little bit slower, about 17. Again, keep in mind, these are a little bit higher up in the atmosphere. I wouldn't be surprised if these work their way across, but timing for those down more south of the Quad Cities metro region. By Oledo there, about 130-ish. Kelowna, 130. Orion, about 134 as well.
All right, another update now, again, just outside of the viewing area, a little bit closer to Cedar Rapids. Now we're hearing a report of a wind that was 112 miles per hour. This is incredible for these straight line winds from this what could be derecho here. This could end up being a long-lived line of storms that goes through the Quad Cities and just continues to thrive even off to the east. But so we've had that report. We can have a hurricane that has winds of 75 and 80 miles per hour, and we're talking winds of 80, 90, 100 miles per hour. This is why the power outage numbers in Des Moines, normally we don't focus on those numbers. We have our own numbers to focus on, and we will do exactly that when we start to lose some power here around the Quad Cities. Des Moines is now over 90,000 people. Those numbers just continue to climb. So again, in the Quad Cities, we will have likely tens of thousands of people without power. I just hope it's for 3 or 4 hours instead of 3 or 4 days. But the potential is there for this to be a long-lasting problem for a lot of people. If you hear the sirens in the Quad Cities, let me pull that up again for you. Sirens, they go off not just for tornado warnings, but they go off for severe thunderstorms that could produce winds that are 70 miles per hour or stronger. We're not going to have super large hail. I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of tornadoes reported, but we're going to have winds that are 70, 80, 90, 95, maybe 100 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and pull up now. Let's get Colby's video here. We'll go ahead and take that full screen if you'd even like. So Colby is now heading into the storm. We'll continue to monitor that video, and we'll flip back over one more time. So that's Colby full screen there, and he'll continue to give us updates. Garrett's tracking his location. Garrett's in touch with him, and we do appreciate that. Another Muscatine report, a 4-foot diameter large tree down, blocking the roadway on Crestline Drive in Muscatine. Garrett, let's go back to our Pinpoint Doppler radar, and let's get into some of the data around Muscatine, as we're going to have a lot of storm reports from first Muscatine and then next from the Quad Cities here shortly. Just now getting into portions of Scott County and Rock Island County. We've already had multiple reports of power flashes, likely power outages, and large trees. We're not talking, 2 or 3 inch branches or anything like that. A 4-foot diameter tree likely down around Muscatine. Now, the way these storm reports come in, they come in and then eventually, once they get filtered out just a little bit, they'll start showing up on the map here. Let's click on some of the things around Iowa City, and let's see what has happened and been reported around Iowa City. We can already tell you it's going to be 60, 70, 80 mile an hour winds that have caused major problems. So Iowa City at the airport, you saw there, 70 miles per hour in West Branch, 69 miles per hour at the airport. This is why we're on the air. This is why we will stay on the air, to keep everybody safe right on through the storm. So, okay, so that is some of the latest here. Let's go ahead and bring our Quad Cities cam Rock Island up full screen from the back in the control room. If we want to, we'll do that. And we're looking at, again, the storm getting much closer. You can see the skies darkening. It really shows good form there. And that's not something we want to see with a severe thunderstorm. Good form on the golf course, great thing. Good form with this line of severe thunderstorms, not a good thing. And this is a sign of, again, how bad things are going to get. All right, Garrett, let's go back. Let's pinpoint Doppler radar. Let's pinpoint track this into the Metro Quad Cities, as it'll really be just a matter of minutes now. As you can see, that storm is approaching. So let's pull back up pinpoint Doppler radar now. All right, so Garrett, first thing we're going to do, okay, let's track it out about 70 miles per hour in the Quad Cities here in just a little bit. Walcott here really momentarily on the west side of the Quad Cities. So you can see where Walcott is. Andalusia around Snowstar. That's coming up in just a matter of minutes. And then after that, it'll be into the Metro Quad Cities. Every time the radar updates, you can see the storm. It almost looks like it jumps. It almost looks like we missed an update or two, and then it's catching up. That's not the case. It's just moving that quickly. So we get updates here. What the radar is doing is it's scanning everything at a 0.5 degree elevation. Then it's going up and scanning a little higher, a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. Then it goes back down. We get the lowest level updates around every 60 to 90 seconds. And you can see when that's what we are plotting here, that's what's updating. That's why it looks like it's jumping, but in that little bit of time, if it is 90 seconds, the storm's moving almost 2 miles. So again, that's why it looks like the radar data is jumping just a little bit. It's just moving that quickly. All right, Garrett, let's clear off the warning data here and switch things over first. We'll switch things over to the wind speed, the rotation, and all of that. We're still looking at these dark colors here, these strong winds in Cedar County, close to Scott County now. Notice there's not a whole lot of shear out there. That's why I've been saying I don't think there's going to be a lot of tornadoes. But we have tornadoes that don't produce winds anywhere near that. That's happening just up above the ground now. Garrett, that's probably a little closer to the ground. Again, about a half a mile up. But look at these multiple reports. These colors, they just don't show up on the radar that often because we don't have winds this strong that often. The atmosphere extremely unstable, and we knew this was going to happen, and here we are. It's just about to start unfolding in the Quad Cities and going downhill. And Garrett, I'm afraid it's going to be just as bad as we thought it would be.
Yeah, definitely. And as we mentioned earlier, too, it's slowly just progressively gotten worse and worse as the morning progressed. Earlier this morning, when I was going through their forecast first there, it definitely didn't really seem to be all that bad at first. It looked like it would be kind of a weaker storm, but eventually the model runs started to suggest more and more of a bowing shape, which is exactly what we're seeing here, which is known as a bow echo, which is produced by those derechos, which do produce very, very strong winds, which, as we can see here, very clearly the case.
Yeah, Cedar County right now really getting hit hard, and this is, again, let's loop this back just a little bit, Garrett. So remember where we have some of these strongest winds. We're going to loop it back just a little bit, and you can see it's moving mostly off to the east. Again, it's moving very quickly, and we have had a new warning issued for the Quad Cities. The first one was supposed to expire at 1:30. Now we have another warning that will go until 2:15. The most important piece of information from that latest warning is the fact that winds are still likely to be 90 miles per hour. So here's the new warning. This affects more than 500,000 people. It goes until 2:15. It covers either entire counties or large parts of a lot of our counties, and that goes until 2:15. So you can see here we are about 1:15. By 2:15, this line of storms will be on the other side of the Quad Cities, and it will wreak some havoc as it goes through the area. So, all right, let's clear this data off now. And let's go ahead and zoom back in, and what we're going to do is we're going to get real close to the storm here, show you what's happening, not quite street level, but you can see, okay, so now we are getting into Scott County, and we're going to getting into Rock Island County. In Andalusia right now, around Loud Thunder and around the Boy Scout camp, things are about to go downhill and in a hurry. In Walcott right now, around the truck stop, things already getting bad. Things are about to get a lot worse. So this is all moving east, and the Quad Cities arrival now within 5 to 10 minutes or so, and that's why the skies look so dark. In the control room, let's pull up our Quad Cities cam, Rock Island, and you can see exactly how dark this is looking. Let's leave this up full screen here. Garrett, I'm going to have you do us a favor here. Pull in the time lapse. You can do a little bit of work here on Max 1 now while we leave this up full screen. Pull in the time lapse of our Quad Cities cam, Rock Island. Let's set it to just a 30-minute loop, and then we'll come back to that here shortly, and we'll be able to show you exactly how dark things have gotten. Okay, while we're working on that, let's pull up Colby Martin's video, our Local 4 storm chaser. So here we go with the, okay, so we'll go to the our Quad Cities cam, the loop here. Let's bring this back up full screen. We'll come back to Colby here shortly. So this movie, it started just a little while ago, and I'll even jump off of the screen, so it's going to play, not quite as quickly as some of the other ones, but look at what the skies have done, and look at what the skies are about to do. It's going to get pretty bad here around the Quad Cities. So again, here is the our Quad Cities Rock Island camera loop. This storm moving very quickly, and it is about to cause pretty significant problems here in the Quad Cities. Okay, let's pull up Colby's video. Let's go ahead and bring up Colby's video full screen now, and we'll show you exactly what he's seeing as we continue to keep tabs with him. So Colby's video is up now full screen, and we're going to check in with him here shortly. Garrett, what's the latest on Colby's location? Obviously, still heading kind of toward the storm. And while you're pulling up that info, I'll go back to okay, Des Moines right now is 94,000 people without power. If you're wondering why does he keep talking about Des Moines, the main reason I'm doing that is to stress that I believe we could have significant power outages in the Quad Cities here within the next hour. That's why I want everybody to hopefully charge up the phone, turn the AC down an extra degree or two in the house, because once you lose the power, you're going to lose the AC. And it is still, as you know, hot and muggy out there. So, okay, any latest from Colby?
Yeah, so the latest update looks like as of about a minute ago, he is, I believe, northbound on 61 there, just off to the east of Long Grove, between Long Grove and Parkview. Looks like his speed just kind of stopped there. But yeah, that is where he's currently at. That was about a minute ago or so, and he is probably, will be trying to get a better shot of what will be happening as those storms move in from the west there.
It looks like his video froze up. So, okay, so this is the live look from the Quad Cities, from our Quad Cities cam, Rock Island. Again, you can flip around. You can see the rain now starting over on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see that now. If you flip around channels right now, you're not going to have a better view of the storm than what you have right now and right here. There is the rain beginning west of the Quad Cities. It's going to come in fast and furious and hard and swift and strong. And along with that rain, let's leave this right here, Garrett. Okay. You'll see how fast the storm is moving as we can just watch the rain race into the Quad Cities here. Another report from Emergency Management in Muscatine. A semi could be rolled over on its side northeast of Muscatine on Highway 61. With these winds, driving a semi nearly impossible to do. So it looks like maybe even so here's what we have going on from our Quad Cities cam Rock Island right now. You can see the rain moving in as we speak. You can see the wind picking up. You can see that wind picking up some kind of dust or debris from West Davenport. That's what we're looking at there. It's going to get pretty bad here in the Quad Cities here very shortly.
Some of that moving through the river.
Some of that happening on the Rock Island side also. Let's just leave this up here. Look at the river there underneath the railroad bridge. You know which way the river goes normally. The river right now, the top of the river being picked up by these winds. And if we can, you could even bring us in on camera here over some of this video here. All right, leave it right. Let's go back the other way. Okay, that's good right there, Garrett. Let's just leave it. Leave it as is. That's great. That's a good shot right there. So this is what we're looking at here. Again, this is happening in the Quad Cities right now. So we are looking at, again, heavy rain, very strong winds moving in. Honestly, it's a sight I don't think I've ever seen before. It just gives you an idea of exactly what's happening here as these winds are racing into the Quad Cities. And we could even bring me in on camera here if we'd like to do that here. I want to point a couple of things out. That's the Pinpoint Doppler radar. And we're going to go back to our Quad Cities cam Rock Island from the control room. We're starting to get some power surges here in the Quad Cities. Let's go back to our Quad Cities cam. Oh, okay, it looks like the camera's out. Well, unfortunately, that might be the end of it for that camera for today. We'll have to see if we can't get it back on. Okay, so let's go back to Pinpoint Doppler radar, the data that we do have. And here's what we're looking at. The thunderstorms just now getting into the metro Quad Cities on the west side of the Quad Cities. First, it's going to be West Davenport and West Rock Island. That's happening basically right now. Then it'll be into the heart of Davenport and Rock Island. Then, as you know, it'll be Bettendorf and Moline and East Moline and Silva. So, Garrett, let's zoom in right now around the Quad Cities. We started this update 30, 45 minutes ago, something like that. I said we're probably going to have to be on for a long time. And this, again, is just the beginning of it here in the Quad Cities, as we can hear things right now here around the building. Again, the wind picking up, the rain coming down. This is, again, just the beginning for the Quad Cities. So it is arriving at 1:22 right now. Looks like we've got our Quad Cities cam Rock Island back. If we want to pull that up just a little bit, the camera shaking just a little bit. Not a surprise there. Let's do a quick scan on the camera.
People on the bridge there. Please do not be anywhere near that area. If you are, please stop driving. If you do happen to go out, just wait a few minutes, maybe an hour or so, then these storms will be clear. As you can see, there are a lot of traffic still going on across that bridge where winds are racing past there. You can see the flag just a little bit ago that was very violent. The camera's shaking pretty good too.
And that camera, it's not up there on its own. It's in a protective dome or bubble, so normally it's not shaking around, but that is the entire camera shaking around. It was interesting earlier, too. We saw basically at least the top of the Mississippi River. This was obviously not down at the bottom of the river, but the top of the river was in reverse. It was going the other direction, and that is because of the wind. So, okay, so that's the latest right now. That's what we have from our Quad Cities cam Rock Island. Let's get it back over to now. Let's check out the Pinpoint Doppler radar and see exactly what's going on. Again, as expected, everything in the Quad Cities now getting dark outside, getting very stormy. There's not a ton of thunder and lightning here. Again, what's great about the Pinpoint Doppler radar is every time there's a lightning strike, it plots seconds later. So we have some lightning. It's not like it's non-existent, but this is mostly wind. Obviously the rain, but this is mostly a wind event here. So if you're watching right now from Davenport or Rock Island, and you know what, Moline and Bettendorf, same thing. Garrett, let's pull up some of the severe weather safety tips. We could either go with the strong, damaging wind tips. We could go with the tornado safety tips too. It is that kind of a storm. This needs to be treated like a tornado, and these are the things that you need to do, Garrett.
Yeah, so if you're out and about, please don't be outside. If you are, please get into a sturdy shelter. As Andy mentioned, treat this very similar to a tornado event here. The safest place right now, if you do happen to be in your home, is the basement or the more central portions of your house. If you happen to be in a trailer home, make sure to find some storm shelter, as we have seen reports of some areas being knocked down, trailers being knocked down as well. These are very, very strong winds, and as Andy mentioned, yes, make sure to treat this as a tornado as well. So we'll go ahead and pull those up for you here. So as we mentioned, in the event of a tornado, or in our case, very, very, very strong winds, make sure to get to the lowest level of your home or basement if possible. Stay away from those windows and doors, as there's likely a lot of debris flying around right now. If you can, get into the interior room or closet within your house. Along with that, too, like as we mentioned, those strong winds as well. If you do happen to be outside, avoid trees, power lines, or semi-trailers. If you do happen to be driving and you are listening to this, pull over now if you're in the area, but stay away from those highway overpasses, as they do act as if they were wind tunnels and will likely be increasing those wind speeds and act as a debris tunnel, launching that through the area. Looking at Colby's feed too, he seems to be doing the same things there.
All right, and also we're looking at some, at least according to the National Weather Service, some amateur radio operators reporting that there is roof damage north of Wilton, and trained spotters reporting significant, not just tree damage, but significant tree damage, some property damage in Swisher. So again, this would be west of the Quad Cities, and we're afraid this is what could be heading into the Quad Cities. Des Moines has now hit 6 digits, more than 100,000 people without power. The only reason we're talking about those numbers is this is the exact same storm that caused all of those problems, just getting into the Quad Cities, and I'll be shocked if we don't end up with tens of thousands of people without power here at home around the Quad Cities too. So we're going to continue following that. There's another power surge here in Rock Island. This will be ongoing here from these strong winds. And again, it's the winds. There could be a little bit of lightning that causes damage. This is going to be 95% from the winds and what those winds do to trees, and then what those trees do to power lines. That's the progression, and there are likely a lot of power flashes out here. Sounds like Garrett has another update for us right now.
Colby Martin's feed there. It looks like he's about to get hit by that outflow boundary there. You'll probably see those winds pick up extremely rapidly.
Okay, and let's see another numerous trees down throughout Tipton. Winds still blowing hard in Tipton, so it's not going to be a 30 or a 60-second thing. So we have significant damage in Tipton. We've had significant damage in Muscatine. You can just extrapolate that right into the Quad Cities. So that is what is going to be happening now. Let's get some video back up in one of the double boxes if we can. I'm not sure exactly what we have available, so here's Colby Martin. Let's go ahead and bring that up full screen. Garrett, can you get us that location on Colby?
Yeah,
there's some debris flying by right now.
Yep. He is within DeWitt right now. I think he's pulled over on US 30 and the South 956 there, so he's probably pulled off just by there. Just moments ago there, that outflow boundary just hit him, so you can see that winds went from basically almost clear to probably only a couple hundred feet of visibility with those winds. The wind blowing past it as well, a lot of rain.
We've seen some debris going by, and look at those power lines there. They're blowing in the wind. Fortunately, no trees around that area, but again, that is going to be our biggest problem by far. And if somebody in the control room, if we want to check in with Colby, see if somebody can get Colby on the phone, and we'll be able to get an update from him. Garrett, thanks for pointing out that location north of the Quad Cities around DeWitt. Did our Quad Cities cam Rock Island, do we have that back online now again? We watched those storms coming into the Quad Cities. While we're checking for that or efforting that, Garrett, let's go ahead and pull up the time lapse from the camera here on the tower, and we'll show you how things have rapidly gone downhill. So we'll just leave this in slow motion. I'll step off of the screen so you can see it. Skies started getting very dark, and then we lost the camera for a little bit. All right, so on the slider, Garrett, let's take it back and let's show everybody what was happening with the river. Okay, let's go forward just a little bit. Look at that. That is all kinds of water, dust, some debris being picked up. So look at that. I've never seen this happen here in the Quad Cities ever with any of the thunderstorms that we've had. So look at what's happening here. Again, look at that. That's just incredible. That shows you how strong the winds were, how strong the winds are. Again, never seen it before. And then for a little while, the river here, look at this. This is the top of the river basically going back upriver because those strong winds, they don't do it to the entire river, but at least the water there on top, it was going backwards. It was going upstream from the west back off to the east. So again, look at that. Again, never seen this before from our Quad Cities cam in Rock Island. It was just incredible. For a little while, we lost the camera, then it did come back online. So again, that's how bad it is. That's how bad it's been. And I'm afraid the power outage numbers could be going up here shortly. All right, Garrett, let's get back to the Pinpoint Doppler radar now. I want everybody to see exactly where the storms are as we continue to track everything. Strong winds right now in the Quad Cities. They could be easily 80, 90 miles per hour. Another report from Muscatine, 60 mile per hour, 75 mile per hour. And the latest measurement from the airport in Davenport, north side of the Quad Cities, we've had an estimate of 75 miles per hour for the winds, north side of the Quad Cities. We've been talking about this for the last hour. Damage in the Quad Cities, inevitable, and that is now what we are looking at. So let's go ahead and look at that in the Quad Cities area. We're looking, okay, so very strong winds. And Garrett, we've been talking for a little while as this storm was back off west of the Quad Cities. By the time the radar data got there, it was picking up stuff up above the ground. This measurement right here, 81 miles per hour, that is basically right at the Doppler radar site.
Yep.
So that's literally 100 feet above the ground, if even that. So again, we are looking at 80-mile-an-hour winds coming through the Quad Cities right now. Garrett, let's clear this off. Let's go back over to the reflectivity, and we're going to show you where the leading edge of the rain, and in a lot of cases where the leading edge of the wind is.
I just also want to point out, too, if you do make any reports to the Quad Cities, they just mentioned that their phone lines went down, so making reports to them, use social media. Okay,
that's a good tip there. And speaking of social media, if you lose power at home, grab us on Facebook, Local 4 News, WHBF TV. Also go to ourquadcities.com. We're streaming all of this coverage there. So if you lose the TV, if you lose the cable, if you lose the satellite, like I know a lot of people will, in that case, pull us up on your phone. Hopefully you've got the phone charged up. We've been talking about that. But that's a way you'll be able to stay in touch with us. We'll be able to stay in touch with you. And once it's safe, and you can safely get us some pictures or some video of some damage that might have taken place around your neighborhood, we'd like to see it. We'd like to show everybody else exactly what's going on, but we only want to see it if you can do it safely. That is the #1 priority. That's the reason we said we're probably going to be on here for a couple of hours, is to keep everybody safe. And right now, we've been talking about how it would be arriving in the Quad Cities between around 1:15 and 1:30. Garrett, it is here. Let's go in for an even closer look at the leading edge here. Again, Eldridge right now near the National Weather Service Airport on the north side of the National Weather Service and the airport on the north side of the Quad Cities. Very strong winds. Rock Island, very strong winds. We've had multiple power surges here in the district. So far, so good. The lights are still on. Hopefully that'll be the case, or we'll have to see if the backup generator will take care of us. But again, this is what's happening right now in the Quad Cities. Let's zoom it back out a little bit. It's still moving 70 miles per hour. That's the line of storms, and it has winds that are 80 miles per hour. So I'll step off of the screen here just a little bit so Garrett can track this, as we are looking at, again, extensive wind damage likely for a large part of the area.
Yeah, I also want to mention, too, Colby Martin, who was out there, we saw that video not too long ago, just reported he had a wind gust around 70 miles an hour out there, noted several large branches down. That was just south of DeWitt there. So, yeah, just being aware of that. As terms of the timing here, now that we have it tracked for you, still continuing to move off to the east at about 70 miles per hour there. LeClaire, you guys are probably feeling some of these winds already. Preston, you'll probably see that in the next 5 minutes or so. In Clinton, in about 10 minutes as well. Prophetstown, probably within the next 20 minutes. In Kewanee, you guys have got about a half an hour to prepare for these storms as they continue to work their way across the area really quickly.
Let's pull up Colby's video. Sure. Let's pull up Colby's video. He's driving around, and there, I wanted you to see that. There was some significant tree damage just back behind him there. Again, he's been in DeWitt. He reported to the National Weather Service 70, 75 mile an hour winds. There looks like a traffic light that might have been bent backwards there over on the right. So he is seeing some damage. We'll continue following this. Why don't we, for the time being, let's even leave Colby up as long as we have him here. I think that signal will come back here shortly. Let's leave him up in the double box. We can see the damage that he is seeing, and we'll see if he ends up coming back toward the Quad Cities, because the damage, it's not just going to be in DeWitt. It's not just going to be in Eldridge. It's not just going to be in Davenport or Rock Island or even Aledo. Everywhere along this line is going to have wind damage. Now, I'm not saying every single tree is going to go down or anything like that, but just about every single one of our hometowns here is going to have some kind of damage there. So everybody in the back, you guys can follow along with me. If it looks like Colby's coming up on some damage, just go ahead and put it up full screen. Even if I'm talking about something else, just cut me off and get right to it. Because again, I think that's important for everybody to see. We've also had a report that there was a semi blown over on its side. near Muscatine. I believe that was along close to Highway 61. So again, just another example of some of the stuff that has happened or is happening here. So, and again, this is very strong winds, 70, 80, 90 miles per hour. That's stronger than that most recent hurricane that we talked about, Isaias. That had winds along the east coast of 80 and 85 miles per hour. We could be looking at winds that are even stronger than that. Just to give you an indication, again, this is nothing to take lightly here. We don't want you trying to take pictures or anything. What we want you doing right now, if you're in the thick of it here, is go down to the basement, go down to the lowest level of your home. Garrett, let's pull up some of those tips again, and we can either go with our severe wind tips or our tornado tips, because we need to basically treat this as if it is a tornado. The winds are that strong. But the tips are very similar. Get to a sturdy building or a storm shelter. And driving is just not a good idea. You can imagine how bad the visibility is. And the tornado safety tips: basement, lowest level of your home, stay away from the windows, go to an interior room or closet. That's what we're looking at here. Again, this is a significant severe weather event in the Quad Cities, and we are basically right in the middle of it right now. So let's get back over to the Pinpoint Doppler radar as we continue. Let's go ahead and plot some of those wind speeds too around the Quad Cities. So let's switch it over to the wind speeds, and then we will turn off some of the warning data. And okay, so look at that line right there, again, right around the Quad Cities. 80 miles per hour, and again, that's not way up in the clouds. That's very close to the ground. We're still looking at the extremely strong returns from Cedar County, and we had a report that there's been pretty significant damage around Tipton, and it was still very windy around Tipton. So as you go a little further south along the line, it's not quite so bad, but look at these reports here. So these are incredible numbers here that we really don't see all that often. Winds could be anywhere from 70 to 80 to 90. They could be 100 miles per hour. That's why we have so much damage taking place right now. Okay, let's get rid of some of that data here. And Garrett, I want to go in for an extra close look here around the Quad Cities, especially maybe this part of the area here, because I want to look at some of these winds here getting very close to the river. And so this is what we have. It's getting into Pleasant Valley right now, and these are some areas, portions of Davenport and Bettendorf. We had all that hail damage. So many new roofs put on this year, just a couple of months ago. I'm afraid there could be more wind damage, more tree damage. And Garrett, let's go ahead and plot some of these here, and we can show you exactly, if you're familiar with this part of the Quad Cities, here's Middle Road. So here we go, 94 miles per hour. So around Middle Road, they could be 80 miles per hour. Devil's Glen here, that would be around the Deerbrook area. Again, we're looking at winds that are likely 70, 80, 85, 90 miles per hour. It's not the hail like it was in April, I think it was, that was causing all the problems. It is the wind, but the damage, it could be even more widespread, believe it or not. So this is one very strong pocket of winds. Let's zoom out just a little bit, and we're going to check out Rock Island County now. And getting very close to, okay, let's go back up right here, Garrett, if you're following along on the monitor over there. Let's look at this. This is Rock Island County, getting into Henry County. This would be right along Interstate 88. Also, very strong winds right now as the radar does continue to update. Let's look at Coal Valley. Let's plot these winds around Coal Valley right now, Garrett. Very strong winds. This is very close to the airport, Coal Valley. 90 to 95 miles per hour. So there could be wind damage right now in Coal Valley. In Coal Valley, we want you in the basement immediately. If you are just east of Coal Valley, the winds are already bad and they're likely to get much worse. If you're just east of Coal Valley, whether it's in a little bit of Rock Island County or Henry County, do it now. Go down to the basement. We don't want you up on any of the upper floors where there could be some tree damage. Let's check out Colby's video here now. I'm looking at it on another monitor here. You can go ahead and pull that up even full screen if you'd like in the back. All right, so Garrett, you've got some more info?
Yep, the National Weather Service here in the Quad Cities also wanted to have a public information statement there for you. If you do happen to have any other weather radio stations, fortunately you are listening to us here. They are off air currently. There are other reports of trees that have now at about 1.5 foot diameter have been basically those branches are down. Looks like that was near Mount Pleasant Street over by, was that West Burlington?
Yep. So okay, let's zoom this out just a little bit. So yeah, we have a lot of people watching from Burlington, West Burlington, south of the Quad Cities. We've had many people reach out and say they appreciate our coverage during the storms for that part of the viewing area too. So even though the radar data does not look as bad, we are still looking at some strong winds here. And again, just about the entire area is under a severe thunderstorm warning. So on the west side of Burlington, we've had some reports of some damage. So again, if you're within any of the warnings that we have going on, treat this very seriously and get down to the basement or lowest level of your home. So Burlington, the weather should be improving here shortly. It will continue to get worse, though, as we get into Monmouth and Warren County. Let's check the reflectivity now again, Garrett, as we continue to track this line of storms, this brutal line of storms. This is one of the worst ones I can remember, quite honestly, with these widespread winds of 70, 80, 90, potentially 100 miles per hour. In the Quad Cities, West Davenport, it's still going to be windy for a little while longer. But things are going to get better here within the next 15 minutes. Same deal from Rock Island. So we'll start to focus on, again, the eastern side of the Quad Cities, and then Whiteside County, Henry County, Mercer County. You're already in the thick of it around Aledo, and you can see a lot of thunder and lightning. There's another new warning being issued well off to our south. So again, these severe thunderstorms, they mean business. They've packed quite a punch, and this has been across the entire state of Iowa. Let's do one thing here, Garrett. Let's pull up the storm reports over the last 12 hours. So we'll go to this view here. We're going to pull up the storm reports. There's going to be a lot more from this line. Let's zoom this out just a little bit. We'll even give you a little more of a regional view. You can see we've been tracking all of this. Look at Iowa, the Hawkeye State. We've been hit really hard today, and it's an ongoing issue right now. All of these significant wind reports, that's why we were ready to go as the storm started to approach our area. We knew it was going to be bad, and I'm afraid it's just as bad as we feared that it would be. So you can see, and again, we'll have a lot more of these reports from around our area here as they continue to fill in, get to the National Weather Service, get to the Storm Prediction Center, and then they end up getting plotted around the area. So again, we will see a lot more of these in the near future. In the meantime, Garrett, go ahead and plot a couple of those. All right, so at the airport in Moline, it's been almost 70 miles per hour. Muscatine, about 60 miles per hour. In Davenport, on the north side of town, it's been 75 miles per hour. So that's just the early sampling of some extreme wind damage. So, all right, let's get back to our Pinpoint Doppler radar now as we continue to monitor all these products here. And it looks like here in another couple of minutes, we'll have another report from the airport that might end up being even stronger. Okay, so we'll see. But for now, again, it's been about 70, 75 miles per hour. Okay, so again, we told you earlier this was going to be team coverage because we knew this was going to be widespread. We knew the damage was going to be extensive. Like I said, team coverage, not just Garrett and myself, Ann and Jim are here too. And Jim, I believe, has some more info for us now as things are rough in the Quad Cities right now. Jim?
Yeah, right now we're just waiting for the domino effect to really start falling because you talked about the power outages, certainly with Mid-American Energy. Right now, the bulk of the power outages are all to the west of us. Certainly Des Moines has felt it. Overall in Iowa right now, 104,000, almost 105,000 customers without power in all of Iowa. Most of that Des Moines and west, some in Iowa City, Coralville as well, getting closer to our area. Certainly, that's a Mid-American map situation. Ameren, Illinois, certainly also in our coverage area. We've got a handful of power outages now in our coverage area. Keithsburg, down towards Burlington, a handful of outages, and then New Boston and an area right around Mercer County Junior High School. Then we're talking about a small rash of outages right now, certainly not as widespread as this storm can get. So the bulk of it right now to the west of us in Iowa, 104,000, 105,000 customers without power in all of Iowa, of Mid-American Energy customers, a dozen or so in New Boston, the Mercer County Junior High School area, Burlington, and Keithsburg, of all places, too. Like small towns, certainly all it takes is one little bit of outage. You can really knock out pretty much everyone who lives in those communities. So, Andy, we're watching the dominoes slowly start to fall, it looks like, as we've seen the storm move its way into our area. We'll be watching what happens. Certainly, we would, as you have indicated already, we can expect a lot more outages probably to come in the next hour or so.
That is likely to be the case. We'll be on top of it throughout the afternoon. Again, all of us here. This is an all hands on deck team coverage kind of day. And that's exactly what we're here for, to keep everybody safe, to get you the information that we think you need to be able to stay safe today. And again, that is no easy feat or no easy task with winds that have been 70, 80, 90 miles per hour. Got a report from our friend at the National Weather Service in the Quad Cities in Davenport on the north side of town. We told you earlier they had winds of 70 and 75 miles per hour ago. That was about 10, 15 minutes ago. the winds are still howling there at about 60 miles per hour. So unfortunately, this is not one of those real quick hitters where the winds pick up for 30 to 60 seconds and then they're basically back down to a more manageable 20, 30, 40 miles per hour. This is several minutes of intense, strong, damaging winds. So that's what we're looking at again. Eventually things will settle down, but we've now had a report around Clinton, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and in Clinton, I'm afraid, for all of us in Clinton County, this is really just the beginning. Something else that we had reported in, again, a good idea to obviously be off of the roads. Hopefully as many people as could had their cars into the garage. But we've had a report that somebody's car was damaged as they were driving down the highway. It was actually hit with some debris, but it wasn't small debris. It was actually one of those big pallets that you've seen. So again, with winds like this, all kinds of things can be blowing around. We've had that report. That was actually from one of our co-workers' husbands. That's who reported that in. Again, their car hit by a large pallet. Damage was caused, but when you have winds of 70, 80, 90 miles per hour, that kind of thing happening, not unheard of. Okay, so a lot of lightning. The lightning just about continuous. The thunder non-stop north of the Quad Cities. In the Metro Quad Cities, we can go ahead and look at this. This box here, just within the last few minutes, more than 1,100 lightning strikes, actually just as concerning. I think Garrett would agree on this. Look at this. Some of them are negative strikes. Some of them are worse, though. Some of them are very powerful, positive lightning strikes. So we are looking at a lot of damage caused, especially by that type of lightning. Sometimes it might be hard to tell the difference between the two. The really loud thunder, the thunder that rumbles for a little bit longer than most other loud thunder that you might hear, those are positive lightning strikes and they cause even more damage. So thunder and lightning an issue. Garrett, strong winds are an issue as well. And it looks like as, again, team coverage continues now, and Sterling in with